Now I think it's time for Sandy to present. Dr. Sandy Sakorrafou is a postdoctoral researcher at the Institute of Historical Research at the National Hellenic Research Foundation in Athens. Sandy will address the topic, the image of medicine within modern Greek Orthodox Christian discourse from the late 1990s to date. Do you have a
Yes, okay, I try to share screen, but says that host disable participant screen sharing.
The host is asleep.
Okay, so what should I do?
Now you can share, I think.
Okay, let's see.
Please try again.
Yes, okay.
Wonderful.
Right, just a minute to see what I'm going to. Oops. Wait. I'm trying to. Yes. This is it. And just a minute because I have to. Oops. Now I'm trying to put my my paper, but this. There's a problem here. Okay.
Do you need to use the slides? Because if that's problematic, then we can.
No, it's okay. I mean, but the thing is that I'm trying to. Okay, let's do the other thing. Yes. Yeah, there's a. Okay, anyway. No, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's more like what I'm saying, just to show you some things on the slide and for you to understand much better, perhaps, when it comes to my English anyway. So, well, many studies, review articles, books, chapters, and essays have been published, especially in the West, on the Christianity and medicine long-standing relationship from the times of the New Testament to the modern age, or regarding the connection of faith and medicine. Now, when it comes to the latter, as it has been argued, the relevant literature could be classified into two approaches. The first approach explores, for example, the impact of personal and institutional dimensions of faith on health behavior and healthcare use. The second approach explores, for instance, bioethical issues and how they relate to religious, especially Christian ethics, or the history of the religious origins of hospitals and medical care institutions. Indeed, these two approaches above do not see the discourse on faith and medicine generally integrated into discussions of religion and science. However, under the latter historiographical intention, the present paper attempts to systematically explore the perception of medicine and its relationship with Orthodox Christianity among the Greek Orthodox Christian circles. Now, by Greek Orthodox Christian circles, I mean the official Church of Greece, the higher clergy, the monks, the academic theologians, and the members of para-ecclesiastical organizations. The latter appeared initially in the late 19th century in Greece and were at their peak, especially from the 1940s to 1960s. Usually described as extra-ecclesiastical or para-ecclesiastical, this organization resembled a typical pietistic Protestant movement. For them, the Bible has an objective, absolute authority, and what matters more is individual faith and moral purity. Their general publications are pervaded by intellectualism and an emphasis on apologetics and the cultural value of religion. At the same time, they simultaneously cultivate a kind of simplistic and popularizing version of Orthodox Christian theology. These organizations have not been strange to the clergy. There have been close bonds with it, and very often direct communication with the authority of the church. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the present paper attempts to systematically explore the perception of medicine and its relationship with Orthodox Christianity among the Greek Orthodox Christian circles, as manifested within the modern Greek Orthodox Christian discourse, articulated through Greek Orthodox journals, newspapers, websites, and books from the late 1990s to the present. Initially, the scripture and the Orthodox Christian tradition have profoundly shaped Greek Orthodox Christians' perception of medicine as a defender of Orthodox Christian values and ethos, and therefore an ideal example of the so-called true science, as they call it. The positive depiction of medicine being in coexistence rather than competition with orthodoxy was preserved throughout the later biomedical developments and the emerging bioethical dilemmas. Yet it seems the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the consequent medical concerns about the operation of churches and the performance of Holy Communion somehow unsettled the relationship between medicine and Orthodox Christianity, or we will see if that is the case. Okay, now, in 2020, during the pandemic, Sotirios Chogas, a professor of pathology and infectious diseases at the University of Athens, was praised by Greeks as a paradigmatic example of a physician for his calm, his deep respect for all victims, and the fact that he had an unbreakable dedication to nursing staff. The Sydney-born immunologist, who had returned to live and study in Greece with his family, was meant to become one of the scientist heroes who emerged from the coronavirus crisis. He was appointed as leader of the expert group responsible for coordinated risk management of the COVID pandemic. He combined expertise, compassion, modesty, and humbleness. Yet it was not only his expertise and compassionate character, but also his religiosity, being a regular churchgoer and a chanter himself, that made him the most suitable choice for becoming the government spokesperson for coronavirus-related measures and guidance of the Greek people through the pandemic. He later pointed out, my quotation, "My contribution was to defend the truth in front of the cameras. Nevertheless, I never felt unique. I was part of the whole. We all fought together. I tried to explain to the people the need to understand scientific uncertainty and our efforts as scientists to overcome it. I think more people now understand science agony in searching for the truth." End of quotation. I believe the image of Chodas could efficiently serve the motive of the Christian physician celebrated among the Greek Orthodox Christian circles. The motive portrays a deeply faithful person, primarily man, who dedicates oneself to other people's physical health and well-being, striving to prove the truth of the Christian faith through serving medicine. It is the image of a physician that follows the exemplar of the divine physician, Christ's ministry of healing, described in the New Testament, as well as the life and the work of the so-called unmercenary saints who took no payment for their services and did not turn away the poorest person in need. Additionally, this motive is part of a more general one, that of the true scientist in True Scientist. Okay, the latter is allegedly a Christian scientist of a particular morality, a decent, humble, kind person who combines a deep Christian faith with an astounding scientific career. A true scientist is said to express humanity's agonized desire to know the universe and comprehend the truth of creation. A true scientist is characterized by hard work, patience, empathy, and a highly developed sense of social accountability. Now, true scientists are said to produce true science, which is regarded to be in harmony with Orthodox Christian beliefs, consistent with the Bible and the patristic tradition. Similarly, medicine is considered true when it is grounded on Christian views of the patient as a person, a psychosomatic entity, and an image of God. Unsurprisingly, the dominant model of true medicine, primarily explored in Greek Orthodox journals and books, it is the medicine of the person, introduced by Paul Tournier in the late 1940s. This person-centered approach in medicine emphasized that attention should be given to the whole person and consequently to the biological, psychological, social, and spiritual aspects of health problems. In that case, true medicine is not regarded simply as the science of repairing the human body, but rather as the art of healing the human person as an inseparable union of the human body and soul. Medicine and Orthodox Christianity are then thought to be complementary. Medicine loses its true orientation without ethical Christian values, while Orthodox Christianity may use the latest medical achievements not only to praise God, but also to shape its contemporary articulation of theological discourse. Yet, there's a point well made in the modern Greek Orthodox Christian discourse. Medicine is considered essential humanitarian aid, yet at the same time, there are dangers of its indiscriminate use. If human beings, it said, put all their hopes in medicine, not God, then they idolize medicine, thus glorifying the wisdom of the flesh. Human beings must have their ultimate hope in God. Medicine is celebrated as an art and science of love, giving, and hope only from the perspective of its glorious reference to God. Now, as I mentioned earlier, true scientists is said to produce true science. Accordingly, considered moral in its practice, true medicine is a product of Christian physicians. A Christian physician is said to be a physician who stresses the physician-patient relationship and prioritizes professional integrity and virtuous behavior in line with the Christian ethos. It is a person who acts out of philanthropy and love, not being motivated by self-interest or the marketplace rules. To make this point even more explicit, Greek Orthodox journals usually illustrate the work of voluntary medical assistance to victims of epidemics or healthcare exclusion, especially in African countries. Occasionally, they sketch the portrait of a physician or a nurse who delivers the so-called qualitative features, Christian qualitative features like great character, endless love for the homeland, compassion for the patient, and deep faith in God. The image of the Christian physician and the importance of medical science that follows Christian values has now also been cultivated by the Special Synodical Committee for Bioethics, created in November 1998 by the Orthodox Church of Greece. Not only the participation of medical professors and curates in the committee, but also the official Schicklers emphasize the significant role of medicine, for example, in organ transplantation and euthanasia. It has been pointed out that medicine cares for restoring or improving human health, and by extension for extending one's life. Physicians within this context work with humility and a deep sense that they are God instruments at the service of other people. The concepts of true medicine and the Christian physician come into sight also when one investigates how the interest and the perception of medical bioethical issues were shaped among Greek Orthodox theologians, priests, and especially religious physicians, even before the creation of the Synodical Committee for Bioethics. Especially physicians as medical experts felt that it is their responsibility to explain the medical ambiguities related to certain bioethical issues in Greek Orthodox Christian journals. And they also felt compelled to theologize mildly as bearers of the Christian ethos in the public sphere, facing particular bioethical challenges conducted in scientific terms, since they were more familiar with medicine than the theologians. Even nowadays, after the foundation of the Synodical Committee for Bioethics, physicians preserve their role in public bioethics, primarily by writing books and articles, hoping to share their opinion according to the Christian ethico-religious principles at the core of what is generally regarded as a secular discussion. Now, perceiving bioethics chiefly as an extension or a transformation of medical ethics, they consider themselves capable and legitimate of deciding what is best for society, acting along with the once dominant paternalistic attitude towards medical patients. According to this attitude, by virtue of their extensive training and experience, physicians know what should be done to seek the good of the patient. Practicing medicine as a special vocation or governed by a well-ethical system that combines the Hippocratic tradition and Christian ethics. I will conclude as I started, referring to Theodorus, the latest example of Christian physicians celebrated in the public sphere of Greece. Being a faithful Christian, he did not hesitate to advise the government to forbid mass gatherings in the churches, especially during the pandemic's beginning. This was a bold step since, through the coronavirus crisis, the whole communion controversy exploded between religious and secular thinkers and inside the Greek Orthodox Church as well. As it has been argued, the debate revealed issues of the modern secular socio-political order in Greece. However, I will not expand on this. And I rather stress that the whole communion controversy exposed how fragile, I think, the relationship between orthodoxy and modern medicine is. Once praised as an exemplar of true science, an art of healing that recalls Christ's feature of being a healer of souls and bodies, medicine stood along with biotechnology in the opposite direction, promoting the secularist rationalist viewpoint on infectious diseases and medical practice, or at least this is how some priests and lay religious people, even several physicians who could not accept the criticality of the situation, perceived the scientific discipline of epidemiology. So medicine, once perceived as an activity that faces health issues in combination with the existential spiritual needs of the believers, allegedly fell into disarray, sending health only within the public domain, not focusing on the person anymore, urging the church to restrict its sphere of activity to the care of the human soul alone. Yet, did medicine, I wonder, or medical workers lose their assigned Christian features during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis? Once again, and we read that a lot in Christian Orthodox, Greek Christian Orthodox journals, treatment was performed out of love for the other person, and medical workers proved to serve humanity by practicing collaboration and collegiality, standing as moral philanthropic exemplars among the rest of us. And as Theodorus pointed out later, when he met with the Holy Synod of the Church of Greece to engage the clergy in the vaccination campaign, quotation, opening quotation, we, medical workers, remain committed to the search for truth with the church. End of quotation, and thank you for listening to my presentations.
Thank you very much, Sandy. What a tumultuous recent history. Yeah? So, historical circumstances, facts of life bring out sometimes the worst, sometimes the best in people, including in church people. I think that there are a few points that your presentation holds in common with Graham's. That there's a point of intersection, at least there. It's as though those para-ecclesial organizations reduce the multiple books available to us, including the Book of Nature, to one book, the good book, the written, printed book, or perhaps the one that's available online, while a more generous, encompassing viewpoint would be the one that you illustrated so well with this Dr. Chodra, or
no, right, Dr. Yes, Dr. Childress was like the leading person throughout the coronavirus crisis here in Greece. When it comes to that, it was like the medical person, the spokesperson for the government, and somehow the father of all.
Yeah, and
Yes.
whose views are much more encompassing than
yes, and he's a person that
narrow...
he's quiet now. He doesn't really, I mean, we don't really know what, I mean, he just went back to science and and that's all. So this is like a preliminary paper, of course, okay. So I really need to focus more on what has been said or how medicine has been presented throughout, well, from the 1990s till the present. And I started from the 1990s because we have like the creation of the Synodical Committee for Bioethics that explores more the role of medicine and especially of the physicians when it comes to what we have to do with certain bioethical issues under study anyway.
And your church is quite quite active.
When it comes
with Efthymios Nicolaidis on the views of the church on AI. But anyway, let's not monopolize the discussion. Are there more comments there? Comments or questions from the floor?
It's okay. I mean, it's like a history of, I mean, I'm a historian of science, wanna be theologian because I have I'm doing my master, but still there are things to be explored more. So I'm open to any questions you've got, if you have one.
I found it very interesting. Yeah, Nicola, do you want to?
No, I was just going to say I thought it was really interesting, and I think these problems with medicine in different countries as well, you know, and yeah.
Okay.
Father Antonius.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And like Nicola, I found myself thinking of America, and Anthony Fauci, I think, was the guy.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
so,
your fellow seems to have fared a bit better than he did. But I mean, I don't know. You painted what seemed to be a very rosy picture of the relationship between science and faith in Greece. I've sometimes met Greek people who didn't give me such a rosy picture.
No. The thing is, it's not about science. That's the problem. It's about medicine. When it comes to medicine, because I mean, the usual image of physician is the one that has also an icon, believes in God. So that was my point, that perhaps we have explored more on this relation between religion, well, Christianity, and and medicine, and integrate that to the bigger discussion of religion and science, because somehow it seems that for Greeks, or at least for the believers, medicine goes hand in hand with the Christian faith. They just they treat medicine as separated from the rest of scientific disciplines. This is the thing, which is a bit tricky, to be honest. And this is, I mean, when the pandemic crisis came, and they just, most of them, like believers and priests, so that, medicine is not only that, it's also biotechnology, it's about vaccines, then they have a problem to accept the older kind of image. So there was a problem. So exactly, when it comes to Orthodox Christian science, well, like the fundamentalist one, I would rather say, there's a problem. When it comes to medicine, things are a bit like more rosy, as you mentioned. And that's what I will try to talk more about it.
Do you have a sense that there's a bit of holistic mentality which makes believers more open to science, or is it just a self-interest there, you know, playing?
No, it's also that you may find many references when it comes to medicine in let's say which one, the Sihab
Iscasmos?
No. I'm trying to. There are many saints. First of all, there are many medical persons that became saints.
Yep.
This is very usual. So I think there's some kind of connection between, especially when it comes to medical persons that became saints, and somehow it's because medicine has to do with life and death issues that makes it more human. I don't know. So for the believers it's easier to, and for the physician it's easier. As I said, usually all the times you find an icon in their offices. This is not very common when it comes to the rest of scientists. Perhaps when it comes to the believers, it has to do with the image of medicine even found in the scripture, let's say, or whatever. Even the Christ is described as a healer, okay? And when it comes to the physician, it has to do with that most of them are believers. I think because of this kind of death-life issues they have to tackle on.
Interesting.
Anyway, we'll see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.